by theft or otherwise, the Secretary may require the proprietor of a cannabis production facility or other person liable for the tax to file a claim for relief from the tax and submit proof as to the cause of such loss. In every case where it appears that the loss was by theft, the burden shall be upon the proprietor of the cannabis production facility or other person responsible for the tax under Section 5901 to establish to the satisfaction of the Secretary that such loss did not occur as the result of connivance, collusion, fraud, or negligence on the part of the proprietor of the cannabis production facility, owner, consignor, consignee, bailee, or carrier, or their employees or agents. C. The refund of tax, in any case where the tax would not be collectible by virtue of subparagraph but such tax has been paid, the Secretary shall refund such tax. D. The limitations. Except as provided in subparagraph E, no tax shall be abated, remitted, credited, or refunded under this paragraph where the loss occurred after the tax was determined. The abatement, remission, credit, or refund of taxes provided for by subparagraphs F and C in the case of loss of cannabis products by theft shall only be allowed to the extent that the claimant is not indemnified against or recompensed in respect of the tax for such loss. E. The applicability. The provisions of this paragraph shall extend to and apply in respect of cannabis products lost after the tax was determined and before completion of the physical removal of the cannabis products from the bonded premises. 3. The voluntary destruction. The proprietor of a cannabis production facility or other persons liable for the tax imposed by this chapter or by Section 7652 with respect to any cannabis product in bond may voluntarily destroy such products, but only if such destruction is under such supervision and under such regulations as the Secretary may prescribe. 4. Limitation. Any claim for credit or refund of tax under this subsection shall be filed within 6 months after the date of the withdrawal from the market, loss, or destruction of the products to which the claim relates, and shall be in such form and contain such information as the Secretary shall by regulations prescribe. B. Drawback of tax. There shall be an allowance of drawback of tax paid on cannabis products when shipped from the United States, in accordance with such regulations and upon the filing of such bond as the Secretary shall prescribe. Subchapter B. Occupational Tax, Sector 5911. Imposition and rate of tax. Sector 5912. Payment of tax. Sector 5913. Provisions relating to liability for occupational taxes. Sector 5914. Application to state laws. Sec. 5911. Imposition and rate of tax. A. In general, any person engaged in business as a producer or an export warehouse proprietor shall pay a tax of $1,000 per year referred to in this subchapter as an occupational tax in respect of each premises at which such business is carried on. B. Penalty for failure to register. Any person engaged in business as a producer or an export warehouse proprietor who willfully fails to pay the occupation tax shall be fined not more than $5,000 or imprisoned not more than 2 years, or both, for each such offence. Sec. 5912. Payment of tax. A condition precedent to carrying on business. No person shall be engaged in or carry on any trade or business subject to the occupational tax until such person has paid such tax. B. Computation. -1 in general. The occupational tax shall be imposed as of on the first day of July in each year, or B. on commencing any trade or business on which such tax is imposed. 2. Period. In the case of a tax imposed under subparagraph of paragraph 1, the occupational tax shall be reckoned for 1 year, and in the case of subparagraph b of such paragraph, it shall be reckoned proportionately from the first day of the month in which the liability to such tax commenced, and including the 30th day of June following. Seed method of payment. -1 Payment by return. The occupational tax shall be paid on the basis of a return under such regulations as the Secretary shall prescribe. 2. Stamp denoting payment of tax. After receiving a properly executed return and remittance of any occupational tax, the Secretary shall issue to the taxpayer an appropriate stamp as a receipt denoting payment of the tax. This paragraph shall not apply in the case of a return covering liability for a past period. Sec. 5913. Provisions relating to liability for occupational taxes. A. Partners. Any number of persons doing business in partnership at any one place shall be required to pay a single occupational tax. B. Different businesses of same ownership and location, whenever more than one of the pursuits or occupations described in this subchapter are carried on in the same place by the same person at the same time, except as otherwise provided in this subchapter, the occupational tax shall be paid for each according to the rates severally prescribed. Seed businesses in more than one location, -1 liability for tax. The payment of the occupational tax shall not exempt from an additional occupational tax the person carrying on a trade or business in any other place than that stated in the records of the Internal Revenue Service. 2. Storage. Nothing contained in paragraph 1 shall require imposition of an occupational tax for the storage of cannabis products at a location other than the place where such products are sold or offered for sale. 3. Place. In general, for purposes of this section, the term place means the entire office, plant or area of the business in any one location under the same proprietorship. B. Divisions. For purposes of this paragraph, any passageways, streets, highways, rail crossings, waterways, or partitions dividing the premises shall not be deemed sufficient separation to require an additional occupational tax, if the various divisions are otherwise contiguous. Deed death or change of location, -1 in general. In addition to the person who has paid the occupational tax for the carrying on of any business at any place, any person described in paragraph 2 who may secure the right to carry on, without incurring any additional occupational tax, the same business at the same place for the remainder of the taxable period for which the occupational tax was paid. 2. Eligible persons. The persons described B. The husband or wife succeeding to the business of his or her living spouse. C. A receiver or trustee in bankruptcy, or an assignee for benefit of creditors. D. The partner or partners remaining after death or withdrawal of a member of a partnership. 3. Change of location, when any person moves to any place other than the place for which occupational tax was paid for the carrying on of any business. Such person may secure the right to carry on, without incurring additional occupational tax, the same business at the new location for the remainder of the taxable period for which the occupational tax was paid. To secure the right to carry on the business without incurring additional occupational tax, the successor, or the person relocating their business, must register the succession or relocation with the Secretary in accordance with regulations prescribed by the Secretary. E. Federal agencies or instrumentalities. Any tax imposed by this subchapter shall apply to any agency or instrumentality of the United States unless such agency or instrumentality is granted by statute a specific exemption from such tax. Sec. 5914. Application to state laws. The payment of any tax imposed by this subchapter for carrying on any trade or business shall not be held till one exempt any person from any penalty or punishment provided by the laws of any state for carrying on such trade or business within such state, or in any manner to authorize the commencement or continuance of such trade or business contrary to the laws of such state, or in places prohibited by municipal law. 2. Prohibit any state from placing a duty or tax on the same trade or business, for state or other purposes. Subchapter C. Bond and permits Sector 5921. Establishment and bond. Sector 5922. Application for permit. Sector 5923. Permit. Sec. 5921. Establishment and bond. A. Prohibition on production outside of bonded cannabis production facility. -1 in general, except as authorized by the Secretary or on the bonded premises of a cannabis production facility duly authorized to produce cannabis products according to law. No cannabis product may planted, cultivated, harvested, grown, manufactured, produced, compounded, converted, processed, prepared, or packaged in any building or on any premises. 2. Authorized producers only. No person other than a producer which has filed the bond required under subsection B and received a permit described in section 5923 may produce any cannabis product. 3. Personal use exception. This subsection shall not apply with respect the activities of an individual who is not treated as a producer by reason of section 5902(b)(2)(b). Leave bond -1 when required. Every person, before commencing business as a producer or an export warehouse proprietor, shall file such bond, conditioned upon compliance with this chapter and regulations issued thereunder, in such form, amount, and manner as the Secretary shall by regulation prescribe.